Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Donnelly with Barrier Free Contractors, and this is the Accessible Barrier Free Homes channel. And I combine it with the Accessing My Home podcast. That little two for one is a nice thing. We're speaking and collaborating with some of the best experts in the mobility world, advocating and promoting fantastic accessibility solutions, specifically for those with mobility challenges. Today, we're speaking with Brian Johnson. He's the Chief Program Officer at the Center for Independent Living in Broward County, Florida, and a huge advocate for helping people with disabilities. Brian himself has gone through a lifetime of mobility challenges, suffering a spinal cord injury at the T7 level caused by the removal of a neuroblastoma, a challenge to say the least, which his wonderful attitude has overcome, which is fantastic stuff. He's an expert on the myriad of mobility challenges. So, Brian, thanks for doing this with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
You bet. And give us your expertise on neuroblastoma. First of all, explain what that is and give the audience something to refer to.
Certainly. So neuroblastoma is a cancer. It oftentimes happen in infants. And like I said, depending on the severity and where it's at, it can have a lot of different ramifications and effect. It could be anywhere in the abdominal region, back, somewhere typically in that, like I said, general vicinity. Mine was actually on the T7 level of my spinal cord, and it was pushing on it where I was having spasm in my legs at 6 months of age and stuff like that. And we just weren't sure what it was. So thankfully, the doctors detected it. They were able to remove the cancer. I also got chemo and radiation treatment, but in the removal of the cancer, it severed my spinal cord. So it removed my capability of being able to walk. But like I said, once again, it was an aggressive form of cancer, and the treating surgeon at the time wanted to ensure that he was able to remove it in its entirety, and they were. So that's the great thing about it. They did get all of the cancer, like I said, because without it, it could have spread to lymph nodes and things of that nature, and it could have probably had, obviously, a worse outcome.
So the neuroblastoma tumor, how big was it when you were such a child?
I couldn't answer that. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact answer, but I know it was significant enough where it was, like I said, presenting barriers and issues. So they needed to ensure that, like I said, that it wasn't creating anything because it was having me issues with using the bathroom, things of that nature. And mind you, this is at 6 months, so I'm not able to communicate or speak, obviously, to my parents and share anything with them. But obviously, there were enough symptoms that they were able to realize that there was something that needed to be addressed.
I was going to ask you about the neuroblastoma symptoms. What, the shaking of the legs. What else is there?
Because tremors of the legs, definitely. The abdominal mass, if you will, or swelling where you can see it under the skin. Depending on some, there may be wheezing and stuff like that. Like I said, once again, keeping in mind that I'm a child this time, so I wouldn't be able to probably necessarily say about discomfort or anything like that. But it also has changes in bowel habits that could cause, and it could go to either end of the spectrum. It could either be diarrhea or constipation. So it just really does depend in terms of, like I said, the person. So that's why it's important when you see some of these things in your young kids that you make sure to go to your monthly visits, checkups, and things like that, or report anything that you may have concern with, like this stuff.
Is there a neuroblastoma treatment that can occur without having to go in and remove it? Can you do it with any other source?
Like I said, depending on the, I guess, the detection of it, chemo and radiation may be able to shrink it or get it to a point where it's no longer a problem. And I've even seen some studies in the past where they say sometimes when it goes untreated, it kind of resolves itself. But like I said, oftentimes just due to the severity and the concern with it, they rather make sure that they treat it and remove it to ensure that it doesn't spread or metastasize to anywhere.
Do you have any ramifications of that today based on everything being done at such a young age?
I am cancer free. The only thing is due to the levels of chemo and radiation therapy that I probably got at an early age, I am anemic. My immune system is a little bit compromised. It's not to the level where I have to worry about things, but I just have to be a little bit more mindful in terms of, like I said, trying to stay in germ-free areas and things like that. Knock on wood, like I said, I've been in remission for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
So it really has never had a reoccurrence or anything of that nature. But I mean, like I said, but there are some things just due to sometimes the treatment, if you will, that does create additional concerns. But like I said, I think most people will take life over the alternative.
Right. So the last question for you, the anemia scenario, does that affect your strength in terms of, because I know you exercise a lot.
Yes.
Does that affect the strength factor for you?
Jokingly, I think most people would say no. I mean, I don't know how much stronger I could be. I think just because of the utilization of my wheelchair, my upper body is probably stronger than probably somebody relatively same age, same stuff. But I mean, like I said, but at the same time, I mean, like I said, I am sometimes a little bit more prone to infections and things like that. Recovery may take a little bit longer, but like I said, once again, that's where monitoring yourself and trying to make sure you do the proper things that you need to stay healthy and in good shape comes into play. Like I said, whether it's vitamins, making sure to wash your hands, things of those nature that we kind of still hear nowadays in everything that we're doing. It's kind of making sure you take those proper cautionary steps and measures to kind of stay healthy.
Great advice. Great advice. Brian, thanks for bringing your expertise to us today. I appreciate it. And to those of you who thought this whole thing that Brian's bringing to the table is of great value to you, please subscribe to our channel. Ring the bell to receive our new videos as they get posted. And Brian, thanks again, man. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate your attitude, and keep the ball rolling, will you?
My pleasure. Thanks for having me once again, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, doke.